So, Halloween is looking a bit different this year. But that doesn't mean we can't celebrate it. It just means we have to celebrate it differently. Sure, we could all munch on a Lutheran family picnic-sized bag of Snickers and pretend we got them from going door to door, but for me, Halloween isn't necessarily about the candy or the spoopiness. Besides, I've been feeling too old to gorge on ill-gotten sweets, not to mention that trying to find a costume for the holiday seems less and less special as the years go by. I wonder why. The appeal to Halloween, in my adult years, came to be enjoying cheesy horror movies. As far as I'm concerned, riffing on schlock with your friends is an evergreen pastime in of itself, but there's something special in the air when you do it on Halloween, and it's not like there's a shortage of them either. In fact, if you want a short list of some personal favorites of mine, you can't go wrong with any of Uwe Boll's earlier films. Alone in the Dark, Blood Rain, they're practically made for these kinds of viewings. No, really, Uwe Boll made these films purposefully horrible to exploit a loophole in the German tax code.
You may remain here in my castle.
I would sooner rot in your dungeon than sit at your table.
So be it.
Though my favorite of his will always be his first video game film, House of the Dead. Seriously, not a single frame of that turd burger makes a lick of sense. But what about cheesy horror anime? Well, that's a trickier pony to tame. Sure, there's plenty of horror-themed anime, and sure, they can run the gamut of being actually good and atmospheric to being downright silly and lame, but a truly awful piece of horror schlock? That's harder to come by.
What a perfect night. The kind of night that makes me want to have a bite to drink.
But lo did I search, and lo did I find the perfect anime to get me in the Halloween spirit. Mystery of the Necronomicon. This gonna be good. Now, the name Mystery of the Necronomicon should clue more than a few of you in on what to expect.
Groovy.
No, but close. The term Necronomicon, or the Book of the Dead, was first coined by our good friend H.P. Lovecraft, its first literal appearance being his 1924 short story, The Hound, though quotes springing from it have appeared in earlier stories. Never really delving too much into the contents of the book, Lovecraft used the mythic idea of the Necronomicon to expand on the themes and concepts of many of his short stories, including At the Mountains of Madness and The Call of Cthulhu. It became something of a common touchstone throughout most of his work, and would prove to be one of the more enduring aspects of his legacy, as well as the foundation of countless books, movies, and video games to come. In fact, the complete collection of his short stories came to be called the Necronomicon. And after reading the entire damn thing, I've come to one definitive conclusion. The man was kind of a lazy writer. Dude did write over 60 short stories, but over half of them rely on long, drawn-out passages, essentially boiling down to how the narrator is so utterly shocked and horrified by what he witnesses that he can't even begin to describe them. I mean, could you try, Howie? But far be it from me to try and take away what the man achieved and how his work has gone on to influence some of the greatest horror stories and artists of the entire century. Hell, some of my favorite films to watch on Halloween are H.P. Lovecraft films. Give From Beyond a looky-loo, by the way.
It ate him bit off his head. Like a gingerbread man.
But the last thing I expected to find was an H.P. Lovecraft anime. So which of his stories does this take from? Well, it really takes from all of them. There's a little bit of Re-Animator, there's a bit of The Dreams of the Witch House, it's kind of a smorgasbord made from bits and parts of the man's entire oeuvre. And it's all complete hilarious dog shit. Just like there's no wrong way to eat a Reese's, there's no wrong way to enjoy a cheesy horror movie. This is Mystery of the Necronomicon. Oh, that is good brown sugar pretending to be peanut butter. We open with our lead waking up from a horrific nightmare, who's greeted by his former daughter/assistant. It's complicated.
I just had a bad dream.
That dream again. From about 6 years ago when you got involved with something that caused you to lose your memory?
Okay, cut. Kimberly, one more time, please, but this time, more on the nose exposition, please. Well, at least you can't say that the story leaves anyone in the dark, because the first few minutes of this anime is just the characters plainly stating things they already know for the transparent sake of exposition. Hell, the anime can't even trust the audience to know how to keep basic time, because nearly every single cut comes with the date and time. There's keeping everyone in the audience on the same page, and then there's outright just thinking for the audience. And yet, somehow, in spite of all of this spoon-feeding, Necronomicon here is still one of the more confusing hellscape rides you can ask for.
How is it? Are you enjoying the accommodations I arranged for you and your daughter?
Mina, she's not my daughter anymore. I ended the adoption when she turned 20 years old.
Just be prepared to shuck and jive, okay? But hey, nightmares can only dampen the mood for so long, especially when there's fresh powder to snowboard and ski on, or when there's a homicidal maniac plucking out the eyeballs of an entire family. It's all included in the vacation package. Luckily, the Nuge here, no, not that one, this one. Actually, they both could work. Whatever. He's right on the case, being a private investigator, once again cut from the same cloth of H.P. Lovecraft. He manages to bluff his way to getting some information, and though the hotel is emptied of people just wanting to get the hell away from a murder scene, the list of suspects is by no means a short one.
The only people left here are the people desperate for a vacation, like us, or somebody with courage, or...
The murderer.
This broken, sporadic, barely flowing dialogue. What does this remind me of?
Say, do you want to go see a movie? I'm feeling fat and sassy.
Yeah, the dub is raw, both in terms of delivery and timing. Half the time they don't even bother trying to time the lip flaps, if they even bother to give characters plainly talking in the foreground a voice at all. Which is a shame, because there is some actual talent here in the dub. Keyword, some.
I already told my story to the police. At that time, I was bringing Sato's dry cleaning back to his hotel room.
Yeah, let's give this guy the exposition dump. This in no way will cause the audience to cringe so hard they cave in their own face.
Mr. Sato! Ah! I think I'll be having nightmares for some time now.
Oh, poor thing. The anime isn't that bad. Yet. Meanwhile, in a completely unrelated scene, news of a fire at a research lab reaches, oh, you gotta be kidding me. They didn't even bother to paint this scene in darkness. They just threw a blue filter over everything and called it a day. How do you resort to filming day for night in an animated feature?
I think I'll be having nightmares for some time now.
What does this laboratory burning down have to do with the murders? Very little, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Right now, another murder has taken place, and this poor woman just so happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. What kind of a resort hotel room comes with a doorbell? With the phone lines down, of course, the Nuge seems to be the only one on the premises who might be able to put any of this together and is sent to investigate. And despite the two of them here staring intently at the faceless corpse in the bathtub for a good solid 30 seconds, now Nightmare decides to give his breakfast a second look. Either that, or the Jimmy Dean sausage link sat a little too long in the buffet chafer. Yeah, that's what those are called. With a menagerie of murders, the Nuge decides to investigate the remaining guests and ask about their possible alibis, including a man who seems very familiar.
Is something wrong? Haven't I met you somewhere else before? Well, I can't really say that I remember.
Of course you two met before. You're played by the same guy. That's right, everyone's favorite duelist slash ancient Egyptian pharaoh and winner of the New York Regional Alan Moore impersonator contest, Dan Green plays both these guys. And of course, the man had to play both roles using his Atem and Yugi voice respectively. It's just so distracting to hear the guy plainly acting opposite himself, though that might be for the best, considering it veers attention away from the awful animation. Seriously, should we be calling Inigo Montoya right now, or did they accidentally give the Nuge here 6 fingers? Still, a golden opportunity has just landed into our laps, and we must not squander it.
There isn't nearly enough card games in this comic.
He's not the hero we need, but the one we deserve.
I collected all of these wonderful books when I went abroad on my business trips. For example, this is a medical book from ancient Egypt.
There's tossing a meatball right over the heart of the plate. And then there's just taking the ball, placing it on a tee while screaming, "Gee, I sure hope nobody makes a joke from this prime setup." Which I will.
Ancient Egypt? That's right. This book here describes an ancient ritual whereby 2 duelists would battle using monsters that they would summon to fight for them.
That sounds completely asinine.
Yeah, the rules didn't make much sense anyway. But I assure you that's not all I have in my collection. Tell me, Detective, do you read Sutter Kane?
Nuge is having a hell of a time trying to keep his wits about him, and after talking with the woman who was in the man's room last night, he runs into an old flame who put him and Kimberly up in the hotel in the first place. Seems that she's also his information broker, who just so happened to catch a ride up with some detectives who were there to investigate the first murders. After cutting through the romantic tension, Nuge manages to take a peek at the crime scene photos and recognizes that the killer is most likely left-handed, which means it was probably... Spoilers, the obviously evil-looking guy, who is one of only 2 characters played by a recognizable voice actor, is the culprit. I'd call this an anticlimax, but that would imply there'd be a climax to begin with. Speaking of climaxes... Spoilers! With the killer fingered, Nuge tries to corner Yugi, but wouldn't you know it, he's dead too!
You've been chosen.
Well, when you begin hallucinating blood and eyeballs appearing in your hands, the news can only be bad. But when the detectives that you previously ruffled walk in on you hovering over a dead body, well, it don't look good.
How many times must I tell you I didn't do it?
Nobody's saying that you're the murderer.
Murderer?
Well, who's to say?
Huh?
You were once the prime suspect in a murder case now, weren't you? I got this fax from the central office today.
Wait, no, it couldn't be. Could it?
A Japanese married couple and a Caucasian woman were killed, and the skin from their faces were cut off. You must have done that too!
Oh my god, it is! That's right, our good old friend Rick Nagel is back as nondescript detective guy. Now, I'm not going to bait you all and make you wonder if he's going to go full Garzy's wing.
Yakuma!
As glorious as that might have been. But it's always good to hear a familiar voice. Besides, it's not like his penchant for peculiar deliveries goes unnoticed.
You! Stay in your own room and don't move! Don't disturb the investigation!
Still, the evidence is piling up on Nuge, as it seems 6 years ago he was involved in a similar murder in America, of which he claims no memory of, and had to spend some time in a sanitarium. It's here we also discover that he adopted Kimberly, who was the daughter of the murdered couple.
Suzusaki brought back the daughter of the Japanese couple who were murdered, and then he adopted her.
One would think that Child Protective Services wouldn't let a young girl be adopted by a former murder suspect as well as a former inmate at a sanitarium. But nobody ever said that a stupid anime didn't have to be stupid. While the animation itself is barely passable even by budget anime standards, it's here that the show finally crumbles into that dreaded level of, you guys didn't even try, did you? Character models are just shifted along a path like they were in the first season of South Park. Obvious composite editing tricks that feel like Adrian Brody is going to be walking by at any moment. Never thought I'd see the day that Aqua Teen Hunger Force would look like Miyazaki, but here we are. And here are Nuge and Kimberly after his lady shadow broker here gave Nuge an alibi to the detectives, which Nuge will have to pay back.
The price for my information is very high.
Lip buttoned. You tease. With the main suspect dead, all Nuge can do is follow some loose threads, which leads him back to this poor woman who was back in the hotel room when the second guy got murdered. Why was she there in the first place?
I understand. He blackmailed you with this tape.
Yep, there is some sex lies and videotape for you, and apparently this videotape is so embarrassing, so shameful, that she shows it to a complete stranger. You know, Jill, he could take your word for it. He doesn't need to know exactly what was on that tape, but these fellas do, and they're going to get an eyeful at the precinct once they start connecting the dots.
We found this in Haruta's room. He's the man who was killed. Have you seen this before?
Gasp! Her previously purple button turned gold. Of course this heap couldn't keep its colors straight. From here on, the plot completely loses itself in a convoluted series of events that make it seem that a lot is happening, but really, nothing is happening. Turns out that while Jill is being let off for more questioning, her student here, who she's been looking after since her parents are off abroad, has been left in the care of the Nuge. I'm sure she'll be in good hands. She's captured. Yeah, Nuge gets knocked out and he wakes up to find that not only is Kimberly gone, but so is Jill's student. Yeah, this character is mute and says nothing, so you try and come up with a nickname for her. However, a map is left for Nuge to find by a very much still alive Yugi, which leads him to Lady Shadowbroker, who is holding Kimberly at gunpoint. What?
I sent a fax telling them that Nezu and I are the murderers.
Murderers?
Although, the person who actually killed them is Nezu.
What?
Why are you working with him?
This was the first time I teamed up with him. Because I believe we have the same interests.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cut you off right there, because otherwise I'm just going to turn into a Little John sketch. Huh? Okay, bottom line, Yugi is a dark magician with the Necronomicon, and he needs the student for some kind of ritual because of some family ties that she has. And he's sworn revenge on Nuge because he interrupted another ritual from 6 years ago, and he's out to kill everyone close to him. So was that why he killed that family and that random creeper dude that Nuge never met before? Because they were all close to him somehow? And no, before you even ask, Lady Shadowbroker here never goes into exactly what interests they both share. She just explains her backstory that she was involved with that laboratory the anime was so careful to integrate into the plot that basically boils down to them wanting to be Re-Animator.
So we were perfecting growth restraints on hormones to give humans eternal life.
Dr. West, any thoughts?
Dangerous.
They turned on her, injected her, and now she's immortal and she wants revenge. Not sure why she needed Yugi to do that, but with her backstory laid out, all she has left to do is exit the story in the most needlessly dramatic way possible.
Rita!
Goodbye, Satoshi.
Forget the fact that she's immortal, thus rendering this scene completely pointless. When the hell could she stop time? But with the mystery solved, all that's left for Nuge to do is find Yugi where it all began, 6 years ago, in the American Northeast. If you need to know where exactly, you haven't been doing your reading, have you?
Brother?
Brother? Yeah, I don't know why she starts calling Nuge brother, but from here until the end of the anime, she switches between dad, brother, and chief. It's just all so creepy. Then again, dubbing does have a history of screwing up family titles. Right, Tenchi?
Hey, Tenchi.
Oh, Grandma.
Not sure why Jill here is with the two. I mean, I get that her student is in danger, but it's not like she does anything that only she could do, or does anything at all now that I think about it. Yet, nevertheless, here the three are, being driven to a cozy little bed and breakfast by a cabbie who is clearly drunk.
Is there something dangerous?
No, it's not, but...
But?
It's just not the type of place where tourists should be staying.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta find the son of a bitch who shat my pants.
Who are you?
I'm just a freeloader. The owner is fixing the backyard door.
Did my brother drive you up?
Wait a minute. A whole new hotel and a new cast of characters that suddenly enter the plot? Oh my god, did the whole thing start all over again? This is a horror anime!
Old man, you're just my type.
Oh, don't call me old man. I'm still 28 years old.
But Nuge, 28 is like 280 in anime years.
Mystic studies?
Yes, I'm getting a doctorate degree soon. After that, I'll start working as an instructor at Miskatonic University.
It was either that or take a job looking after a hotel in Colorado in winter. I think I made the smarter choice. At least here, her convenient Mystic Studies program helps Nuge discover what Yugi is probably up to. But first, he has to go to the public library to brush up on what exactly went down 6 years ago to the... Okay, I guess the standard uniform for library employees is quite different in the Northeast. You tell me, people, if you live in the Northeast, do your librarians routinely dress up like they're about to save your game in a JRPG? This whole detour is completely useless. I mean, yeah, we learned that the place that they're staying at has a grisly past, and that it was built by Dr. Herbert West, who we find out is actually Yugi, but knowing that doesn't really change the fact that they still have to stop him from vivisecting this poor girl. Nor does it really change the fact that they have until April 30th to find and save her, which they already knew before they went to the library. A1 priorities, guys. Well, at least them being at the library gives Nuge here a rock-solid alibi when they come back to find out that these two women that Nuge were talking to earlier have been killed.
Rumiko and Kate were killed.
What? I can't even begin to describe how.
You wouldn't be the only one. Truth be told, it is quite the scene, and I can't really show you it because of YouTube, but let's just say that old Drunkie's reaction here is understandable. And at last, the anime starts feeling like an H.P. Lovecraft story. Too bad it's within the last 30 minutes. But yeah, we finally get the undead, sorcery, eldritch horror, all that good stuff. And it all comes to a head as Yugi West comes a-knockin'.
You're the one! But how old are you?
You talked too much.
That one's a freebie, Matthew. For no real explicable reason, Yugi West's spell that made Nuge forget finally lets go, and he remembers everything, including the secret entrance to where he's hiding. But you know, why do today what you could put off till tomorrow, right? It's only a girl's life at stake, no biggie. Actually, maybe they needed that extra day so the Nuge here can fetch his magical color-changing hat. Let's count it down! The final battle between good and evil is barely a battle at all, but at least Nuge here can get some closure over his innocence.
I wasn't the one who killed Nora.
Yes, I killed her.
When I killed your girlfriend, I talked just like you!
Thank you, Martin. Seeing as how he has the eldritch powers on his side, it shouldn't surprise anyone that Yugi West can survive a sword through the gut, but one little lighter is enough for him to burst into flames like his clothes were soaked in gas. Hell, even the stones in the underground hideout catch fire somehow. But wouldn't you know it, fire solves everything and the day is saved. You know, outside of Yugi West's face appearing in the flames that goes nowhere. Oh, and there's also an end credit stinger that suggests that Lady Shadowbroker is still alive, because of course she is. And that's it. It's a cheesy, poorly animated, written, acted piece of schlock that will fit into anyone's Halloween movie party. Really? Are you sure? Because I'm sure you're leaving out one huge detail. Well, since we're at the end, I guess we might as well come clean. This is also filthy smut. I mean, some of you might have put it together or already knew, but yeah, between these horrific scenes are unappealing scenes of the characters boinking. They're spaced far enough apart and they're sporadic enough that you could watch the entirety without them and not miss a thing, which I kind of just proved. I guess I can't recommend this in good faith without telling you all this, but I hope that doesn't deter you from seeing it because there's a whole lot I wasn't able to talk about either due to content reasons or just plain old pacing reasons. If cheesy horror movies are your thing, then you will have a blast with Mystery of the Necronomicon. But for now, I want to wish you all a very happy Halloween, and to tell you all that the next time we meet, we will begin a gauntlet of garbage bin Anime Works titles, starting with the Tokyo Project. Till next time.